President, I congratulate the United States for assuming the presidency of the Council and thank you for giving me the floor. I thank Ms. Georgette Gagnon, the Head of Mission and Deputy SRSG of UNAMA, for her briefing. India has deep-rooted and civilizational bonds with our contiguous neighbor Afghanistan. Our history of close ties keeps guiding us in the current context, a situation when the proud people of Afghanistan need the world's assistance. Over the years, India has continued to strongly advocate for peace and stability that could aid development in Afghanistan. Our participation in the Doha Working Group meetings underlines this commitment. Madam President, India prioritizes capacity building and humanitarian assistance initiatives for the Afghan people. With more than 500 development partnership projects spread across all 34 provinces of Afghanistan, we are deepening our engagement in healthcare, public infrastructure, and capacity building. We continue to work with UN agencies as well as with agencies such as the Afghanistan Red Cross Society in food security, healthcare, education, and sports. The visits of Afghan ministers last year are helping us ensure that this aid is reaching those who need it the most. Since the last briefing in December 2025, India has made significant progress in advancing healthcare support in Afghanistan. Development projects approved earlier, including the establishment of a thalassemia center, an oncology center, a trauma center, a modern diagnostic center, and the replacement of the heating system at the Indira Gandhi Institute of Child Health, and the construction of a 30-bed hospital, all in Kabul, as well as the construction of 5 maternity health clinics in Paktika, Khost, and Paktia, are progressing steadily. In the last 3 months, which is the reporting period for the UNSC's report, India delivered more than 1 million doses of immunization vaccines for children and 9.5 tons of anti-cancer medicine. In the coming months, we aim to deliver over 17 million additional doses of preventive vaccines to further strengthen Afghanistan's national immunization program. This is India's investment in the future of Afghanistan. Over the past 4.5 years, my country has supplied 50,000 tons of wheat, 380 tons of medicines and vaccines, and 40,000 liters of pesticides. Following the 2 earthquakes last year, India was among the first to provide humanitarian assistance to the tune of 60 tons of food items, 42 tons of earthquake relief materials, and 73 tons of essential medicines. In partnership with the UN Office on Drugs and Crimes, we have provided 68 tons of medical supplies and 32 tons of social support items for the rehabilitation of drug addicts. In the field of education, our scholarship and fellowship schemes for Afghan students are always in demand. Since 2023, around 3,000 students have availed themselves of these opportunities, including 1,000 Afghan women. India continues to provide financial and logistical support to Afghan self-help groups led by women. On the bright side, any visitor to Afghanistan today would see Afghan youth enthusiastically playing cricket. The Afghanistan cricket team has been winning hearts wherever they have been playing, and their spirit and passion in the just concluded Cricket World Cup was notable. My nation is proud to be part of their journey and happy to see them bring immense joy to the people of Afghanistan who are enduring so much. Madam President, we take note of the Secretary General's report on the situation in Afghanistan, especially the dire humanitarian concerns and the rising implications for the country due to unprecedented scale and pace of forced and involuntary returns under adverse circumstances. Acute food insecurity and climate and natural hazards have led to 45% of the population requiring humanitarian assistance this year, which is a dire situation that needs the world's attention. These significant vulnerabilities necessitate more efforts towards addressing food security, healthcare, water security, and other shelter challenges. The returnees need to be provided housing, basic services, and livelihoods. We add our voice to the Secretary General's call on member states to uphold their international obligations in relation to protection, including the principle of non-refoulement, and ensure that returns are voluntary, safe, dignified, and accompanied by sustained support for reintegration of returnees into communities. The Secretary General's report also expresses deep concern at civilian casualties caused by cross-border armed violence. We reiterate and support the Secretary General's call urging compliance with obligations under international law, including international humanitarian law, and ensuring protection of civilians. India strongly condemns the airstrikes in Afghan territory, which are flagrant violations of international law and the UN Charter and the principle of state sovereignty. It's hypocritical to espouse high principles of international law and Islamic solidarity on the one hand, while mercilessly carrying out airstrikes during the holy month of Ramadan that have killed 185 innocent civilians as of 6th March, around 55% of whom are women and children, and displaced over 100,000 according to the UNAMA on the other. We also reiterate our grave concern on the practice of trade and transit terrorism by denial of passage for trade and the cynical closure of access for a landlocked country. UN declarations on LLDCs sound hollow in the face of such actions. The trade and transit vulnerabilities of LLDCs should not be weaponized. This is a violation of WTO norms and of the UN Charter and international law. While we condemn these acts, we reaffirm our support for the territorial integrity, sovereignty, and independence of Afghanistan. Madam President, terrorism remains a global scourge afflicting humanity, and only coordinated efforts of the international community would ensure that ISIL and Al-Qaeda and their affiliates, including the Lashkar-e-Taiba and the Jaish-e-Mohammed, and the proxies of LET such as the Resistance Front, along with those who facilitate their operations, no longer indulge in cross-border terrorism. Madam President, well over 4 years have passed since the political reality of Afghanistan has changed. India reiterates the importance of incentivizing positive actions. In this context, the current UN sanctions regime related to Afghanistan must take into account contemporary realities. We call on the United Nations and the international community to shun this business-as-usual approach and adopt nimble policy instruments that bring sustainable benefits for the Afghan people who have endured suffering for so long. India reiterates its commitment to strengthen our engagement with all stakeholders in bilateral, regional, and multilateral formats. India will always stand for the priorities and aspirations of Afghan society and will always support the people of Afghanistan. I thank you, Madam President.